Good. Let's see. Is this going out right properly? Let's just check OBS. My audio seems to be at a proper level, even though my illness prevents me from speaking up nice and loud. Let's see. This is just silence. Let's see. As you can hear, I'm not in the best. Hello, Soren. Good evening. As you can probably tell, I'm not in the best of health this evening. My hoarse throat. I caught some sort of like horrific bug. I don't know what the heck it is, but I got really ill for the last few days. I'm just looking for something I could play in the background. How are you this evening? Yeah, there. Not my favorite type of music, but it's just for something to do in the background. I just love the sound. Way too loud. Sorry. Yeah, probably lost my one viewer there. So sorry. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be about there. Go back to it so I can see. Yeah, hi. Hi, Soren. I forget, have we communicated before? Like I said, I'm not feeling all that well, so I don't remember what exactly is what. We'll make sure again. Audio levels. Yeah, dang. Audio's still too loud. Jeez. There, that's what it's supposed to be. I'm so sorry, guys. Or the one person who's watching. I swear. Yeah, what I need to do, but is turn off a lot of this stuff. But really, this is guiding me where I need to be. Oh yeah, it's the wrong scene. Hello, someone. Where are you watching from, if you don't mind me asking? Or if you haven't turned off your audio completely. Oh, London, yes. Jeez, what time is it? Oh, you're usually about 6 hours ahead of us. So it's coming up on midnight over there, aren't you? So, hey, well, since you're on here, let me just make sure that this audio is turned down a little bit on this end. Let's see. Hopefully that's still going out at the same volume over there. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. 22. I wasn't asking how old you were. I was asking, oh, what time it was, and you say 22? By my clock, that's 10 p.m. So you guys are... Oh, yeah, that would be 22, yeah. Wow. So, what do you think about Rishi Sunak? Tell me what the popular opinion over there is. I'm very curious, because, I mean, after like 4 years of our own politics being an absolute mess here in the United States, and we are still sort of a mess, it is kind of interesting watching how things are going in London. I mean, over in the UK. I mean, going through like 3 prime ministers and just, I mean, at a certain point, the Conservative Party just almost completely destroyed. I mean, that was unthinkable just a few years ago. I'm heading over to... I'm all fevery. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. Let's just zoom out, man. I know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get over to that spot right over there. Yeah, I'm not exactly trying to, well, exactly, it kicked me back into the wrong one again. Heck. Don't save. I think, again, this is my fever working. Just another rich capitalist. Yeah. But he has, you know, and heck, Obama was basically the same. But at least he wasn't Boris Johnson. I mean, Liz Truss, heavens to Betsy. I do have a passing understanding of, like, British politics and such. And, so, I more or less know what's going on over there. It's just odd. It just seems that the Conservatives are doing everything they can do to avoid a new election. I mean, I know Keir Starmer isn't exactly the best, you know. Let's see, I think it's stones. I got some new ones. Let's see. I mean, that was one thing we had to just accept to ourselves here in the United States, and all that enthusiasm about Obama becoming president. Yes, he was definitely better than any Republican, IMHO, but he was just another rich capitalist. He was in the, like, pocket of Goldman Sachs, etc. He was in, you know, going to APAC and doing all the other things that the conservative politicians do. He did what he did to get along in Washington. Let's see. Actually, yeah. I forget exactly where I stowed this stuff. I think maybe in third party. Yeah, this is a guy with, like, still running a fever, trying to figure out, hey, where did I store those things the other day? Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, rock set. For about 2 days, I was completely out of it. I couldn't work at all or think. I didn't even get out of bed for about, 36 hours. I didn't eat anything. I think I drank a little bit of water. But, toxic. Yeah, and I'm still coughing up a storm occasionally, as you can see. Looks very funky and sneaky. Each time a new person gets crowned, the rich benefit a little bit more, and the country goes deeper into the ditch. Welcome to the club, my friend. Geez, you know, if I was a little bit more present of mind, I watched that guy Vosh. You know, he's sort of a leftist here in the United States. He basically streams all day and just talks politics in a, I mean, more or less generally manner that's more or less knowledgeable. But my goodness, he makes a living doing that. Just sitting there talking, you know, general sense politics to him. I don't get it. But I don't. That's what Twitch is. I mean, I avoided getting on Twitch for the longest time, and I think it's too late for me to ever get on there because I said I would never go there. Where the heck? What the heck is happening here, guys? Where's my freaking prefab? Come on. Oh, I think I made it about 10 billion times larger when I should have made it about 10 billion times smaller. Again, game dev while you're ill. Game dev while you're ill. It's the Game Dev Challenge. TikTok. Mm. Yeah, I mean, here in this country, I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was very interesting watching like Deutsche Welle and all the networks in Europe just looking at us, the United States, and going, "Is America turning their backs on democracy?" And well, I mean, I would like to like raise it, like a argument to that, but it did seem like, well, there are a number of people in this country that are just straight up, democracy. That just led to all the problems that we have now. I don't know. Well, no, of course they're idiots. The alt-right, these people that I mean, people like Nick Fuentes. I don't know if you're familiar with Nick Fuentes. You're probably not. He's this American guy, and American, I think is a streamer. He's been banned from a heck of a lot of services, but he still streams every day and makes thousands of dollars for every stream that he does. And he's just an overt, straight up Nazi. He's just like, yeah, The Handmaid's Tale. We're just going to start at The Handmaid's Tale, people. That's where we really. I mean, we would go much further than that. And I mean, it's partially like griefer and 4chan sort of stuff, but it does unfortunately still have a great deal of people who, it's that stochastic terrorism that draws people in. And I mean, again, jeez. I mean, I like I said, I speak 4chan. I know, I dallied in weird online cultures back in the day, but I don't know. I remember a time when Anonymous, the 4chan Anonymous back in the day was mostly leftists, and somehow it just got hijacked by those two people who are. Here's the thing. I picketed the Church of Scientology, but there's that one person who everybody agrees is QAnon. He will sue anybody who even intimates that he is QAnon, so I can't say it. But honest to goodness, those guys were able to turn the toilet of the internet. I mean, I remember going on and the stuff that's on there, and to think that all these Christian evangelicals are going on to 4chan and sifting through all this just awful Euro porn and stuff, hoping that they see something from this Q character. It's insanity. Mm. Mm. Well, that's the thing. A lot of those Twitch people, they now have editors that literally go through their daily streams and just grab the best clips and put them up on YouTube. That's how I watch Bosch, his clips, because he puts up so damn many every freaking day. But heck, I mean, somebody has to be out there to just make a leftist. I'm sorry, I'm going to get political and that might turn people off, but I mean, there's just so much craziness out there, and I mean, with the corporate media, I mean, the one thing that Donald Trump got right is, I mean, we do have a right to be cheesed off of the media, but again, he's like, oh, of course, Lugan Press. I'm not even going to go what that means, because you know what it means. It's just old Nazi stuff. Honest to goodness. I mean, what's really crazy to me, I mean, for some reason, have, I used to work in politics. I still follow politics to a certain extent, but every time the new racists come out, I mean, they drag up, they try and show their heads and I should call, not just racists, but the fascists. You'd think every 40 or 60 years, they'd come up with something new. But it's always go after the Jews and the foreigners and the communists, of course, every time. And I don't know. I'm expecting innovative thought from incredibly dumb people. And yes, if you fall for neo-Nazism, you're an idiot. And if you support Peace Island and you're a neo-Nazi, well, geez, I hope not. If you are, talk to me. I would love to have a conversation with you, because I know you probably just not, you just have your head in the wrong places, man. You just do. I mean, there's this really great guy. Well, no, he recently went trans. Well, not too recently, it's several years. And I don't mean to say he went trans, but he changed his gender. He had gender affirming surgery. And in his early videos, he summed up, with the attitude leftists need to have toward fascism. And I mean, really regular people need to have toward fascism. And I'm not just talking about leftists, I'm talking about conservatives. I mean, really, Nazism really didn't have much love for the tenets of Catholicism or Christianity or any religion in particular. I mean, it goes beyond leftism. But anyway, that guy summed it up in that in the ideal world of everybody, Nazis have a right to exist. And I believe, yes, Nazis should have a right to exist. But we also have a right to tell them you're absolutely wrong and make fun of them and throw eggs at them and, send 20 pizzas to their houses and so on and such, and just make their lives generally tough. But the thing is, in the world of a fascist, they have no place for people like you, me, or anybody else that's on the fence. And that sealed it for me, because I do know people who are self-described fascists, and they basically affirm that. They say, yes, there is no, with all due respect, great chumming with you, but first up against the wall, buddy. Well, that's the way it is. I mean, the reason I know those people, it's not that I can actually see like fascists. It's just that, I know from personal experience how that ideology can just insinuate itself into people's minds. I've seen it destroyed. And again, my father, if I didn't say this before in my rambles, he was born in 1941, and so that 5 years after he was born, everything was blasted to crap. And, it was all because some idiot had some damn stupid idea. And again, I have to go back to the thing. Why do they always go back to the same arguments every 60 years? Jews, foreigners, and communists. What was it? Have you ever seen that movie Starship Troopers? That was a movie that was designed to just show an all-American fascism, an inclusive fascism. And that's the most scary fascism of all. I'm sorry for going on about fascism. What do you want to talk about that? No, not that one. Considering I'm unwell, this is another video that may not stay up. Because I've just gone on and on about fascism and such. I did work in politics and such, and it's really crazy. Here in the United States, we have this thing called the Lincoln Project. I used to work I used to, if you go to the New York Times, I'm listed as like the inventor of the do-it-yourself attack ad, because they apparently think I invented viral political video. Maybe I did. Who knows? But worked in politics. And back when I was in D.C., I ran into this guy, Rick Wilson. And man, that guy, back in those days, man, he was on my top 10 list of people that I would accidentally punch and go, oh, I'm so very sorry. I don't know what overcame me, man. Sorry you have that black eye. But the thing is, and I'm not a violent person, of course. But the thing is after Trump came into view, him and a bunch of other Republicans just said, okay, we're not Republicans anymore. We are burning our, ships at the water's edge, and we're going to do everything in our power to destroy Trump and Trumpism. And it's like, Well, better late than never, guy, is the only way I could say it, because I just remember him steadfastly, like, defending the wars in Iraq, which, just like, in my opinion, just like the war in Ukraine, was a a crime against humanity. What we did many horrible things in Iraq. Yes, you could talk. I mean, you could talk about what Saddam Hussein did. Yes, but two wrongs don't make a right, man. If we want to talk about, moral relativism and philosophy, we could do that. Just tell me so in the chat. Haha. Anyway, but now he's on my side at last. Well, the thing is I don't know whether he's truly on my side. It's just that politics in this country has changed so radically. And here's the thing. I have to place, and I'm going to be straight up with everybody. I'm a leftist. I'm not a liberal, because liberals compromise with capital. And they're like people who believe in a death by 1,000 cuts. I'm a straight up socialist. I have to fault the Democratic Party just as much as the Republican Party into getting us in the situation we're in. I mean, for so many decades, we elected Democrats, and after a certain time, somehow the Republicans won the argument. They were ashamed to talk about economic justice issues, and they abandoned that. And when the Democrats abandoned that, the poor had no one to go to except they're the party that talked the most about Jesus and, hated the brown people. And see, I'm trying to emulate Bosch here. And unfortunately, because the Democrats did that, again, it left people with nowhere to go. The guy who wrote, there's a very good book called What's the Matter with Kansas? And he goes into a little bit more depth about that. I mean, there are so many people that say, there is no real left-wing party in the United States. And to a certain degree, there really is. I mean, the Democrats are slowly coming around to it, with AOC and Bernie. I mean, I was a Bernie Democrat, and I guarantee you, had he been the nominee in 2016, he would have won against Trump. Trump would have been able to say crazy Bernie or whatever, but again, I worked in politics for a lot of years, and I have instincts about this sort of stuff. When I saw a Bernie Sanders event, I was in the arena here in Maine, and the two people they were two elderly couples, and both of them voted for Reagan. And they were like, we hadn't voted for a Democrat in a long time, but they were interested in what a socialist Jewish guy had to say. That was unusual. Now, you didn't see those same kind of people in Hillary Clinton rallies. And the irony is, is because of our screwed up system of the Electoral College and our notion of, in America, we don't have, one election. We have 50 different elections that form one great election. And so they came up with this, it is just straight up racist way of preserving power of the slave states called the Electoral College. Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes than Trump, and she still, quote unquote, lost. That was the toughest pill of all that we had to swallow that day. Is that we won? No. Here's the thing: Hillary won half of Maine, and she won the popular vote by 3 million votes. I did not like how she and the Democratic establishment treated Bernie Sanders. My vote would not have made any difference in the long term. And again, if you give me a choice between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, definitely, without a doubt, I would have voted for. But as it was, I voted for a third-party candidate named Vermin Supreme, who is sort of like Mad Lord Sutch there in the United Kingdom. I don't know whether Mad Lord Sutch is still around. He ran the Monster Raving Loony Party. there in England for many years. But this guy, he dresses like a wizard, and he has a boot on his head, and he talks. He just, it's all crazy. He says, my presidential campaign is based. We're going to have a dental police that goes from door to door and just make sure that everybody's taking care of their police, and they all have the right to break in at any time, 24 hours a day, and everybody will get free ponies, and we're going to harvest the energies of all the zombies after the zombie apocalypse. But the thing is again, Hillary won the election. It was the Electoral College that screwed up, that screwed America, not protest votes like me, and I will, to a great extent, still stand by that. Except, that was the election that I literally learned about how, for a while I was a ardent supporter of the Green Party, but that was the election where I discovered where Jill Stein, her votes made the difference between Hillary's victory in a couple of states, but that made no difference in the long run because, again, Hillary still won the majority of the votes. Sorry. Soren, he passed out there. He left us. I'm still here. Soren, when do you go to work? And what do you do for work? Do you mind me asking? Because I have my own work story to tell you when you get back. No, I'm not good. I'm good. Are you going to work? Are you getting up at 20, which is, we call that 10 p.m. here. Again, ill. So basic math is a little bit of a trouble thing for me right now. By the way, if you didn't get those questions, I was just asking, what do you do for a job? And I have my own funny work story. Self-employed. Oh, do you have an art page? Could you share in the chat? I'd love to check it out. Please share in the chat. I'd love to click on it and check it out. So you usually work these hours, or are you just like I just can't get to sleep, and you're thinking and whatever? I have bouts of insomnia all the time, man. It's a bear, let me tell you. That's a phrase we have. It's a bear. God, this sounds like the Sims music, like programmed to the Soviet Union. It's a Soviet wave mix. So, you haven't shared your art link, but I used to be an artist, an aspiring artist. I did a lot of illustration and stuff back in the day. Just saying, there are a heck of a lot of people doing graphic novels like on Patreon. There's one that I'm following right now. It's called, I hate to bring that, but because, I'm going to have to bring it up in OBS. Let's see. It's actually, no, I'm just going to go to YouTube because that's where I found it first. There's a YouTube channel called Curious Archive. I'm just going to find it, yes. But this guy, he's doing a comic book, and it's basically every, week, I think it's a couple of pages, or every month, I forget, because I haven't checked it in a while. But let me just see this thing. He's done so many good videos. He does videos about speculative evolution. Humanity Lost. Humanity Lost is the name of the graphic novel I subscribe to on Patreon. I give him a couple of bucks a month because it's a very interesting concept. It starts with this guy waking up in like this spaceship in an indeterminate future. I mean, I don't know whether there's ever been discussed how long it's been since, maybe thousands of years. But it's evident that he's been like in cryosleep for decades, if not, no, probably centuries, if not thousands of years. Oh, you know his stuff, right? Uh, my bio clock is broken. Yeah, I know the feeling, man. I usually sometimes have to take melatonin and doxylamine to get myself, in snoozy town at night. Usually I spend my evening with watching a couple episodes of King of the Hill, which is a cartoon series from here in the United States. And let me tell you, you as a guy in England, in London, let me tell you something. If you ever wanted to know what it's like living in the American South, watch episodes of King of the Hill. That is why, I don't know, it is a honest, critical, but also loving portrait of the South. It shows it warts and all. And anyway, that's what I usually end the day with, because it has a few. I haven't watched the entire series in years, and I think we're going through it now every night. We just call it up on Hulu. But anyway, I mean, if I keep this video up, maybe I should talk about where humanity lost lead, but I will just cover it. Excuse me. Very dry sausage I just ate. Very sorry. Essentially, sometime in the very distant future, and this is all I'm going to say about it, because really you should check it out. Humanity Lost. For those people who might watch this in the future, is that sometime in the very far future, the human race gets in a war with this coalition of alien species, and I forget exactly how the war began, how it played out and everything, but really that's sort of moot, because essentially at a certain time in the war, humanity as a whole does a Trump, and they say the only way we can win this war is to turn our entire society, including our biology works over to an AI, and that AI turns humanity into this indescribable Borg-like biological entity that literally turns planets into huge masses of flesh that birth out hordes of new humans. And the thing is, the way the story is told, that AI in itself was not evil. It was just given a task, how to make humanity survive. And it just said, okay, guys, this is how you do it. And so it just covers a lot of really great ideas. Fantastic alien design. This guy is he's the new Wayne Douglas Barlow. If you've never seen, he's the guy who did Journey and a few other, but he without a doubt does the most innovative alien designs. I mean, some of them are just, some of the creatures you have to get over because they are somewhat frightening and visceral in appearance. But I mean, that's another thing that's kind of neat about this guy's work, is that, and the story is that, and also Adrian Tchaikovsky touches on this in one of his books, Shards of Earth, is that should we meet an alien species out there, it's not guaranteed they're going to be pleasant to look at. They very well might be this collective consciousness that is somehow evolved out of a creature that looks like what we consider to be earthworms or spiders or something that we consider absolutely repulsive, but they may be very well beneficent, and in other words, it's if we do meet alien creatures, I think it's going to be like this guy out how it's portrayed in those instances. We're going to have to really adjust our beauty standards and our idea of what is visually acceptable, because they aren't going to conform. I think they are. I mean, Star Trek and all that, they are going to be bipedal with 2 arms and 2 legs. No way. I mean, and again, humanity lost. Fantastic alien design. Hold on, I need to chat at this guy who works with us really quick and let him know that I'm live streaming. And just let him know. I'll be right back. Oh, no. That's actually... Oh, Laura sent me pics of a cat, of a kitten. Oh, my goodness. Oh, she looks like a fighter, though. Here's the thing. We recently adopted Olivia, and apparently one of her kittens is having a hard time finding a home, and it's like, jeez, can we handle another cat? And I'm like, if they need fostering, maybe. And I just took a look at the kitten, and I could just tell. I mean, don't get me wrong, cats are sweethearts, but I could tell this cat might be an issue. And, by the way, what I'm working on here is this thing that players will discover in the middle of the woods by the only remaining one of these pine trees. Around the island, there were 3 gigantic pine trees. 2 were burnt down, unfortunately. One back in the 1700s, the other one during World War II, and this is the other one that still exists. And it is the site of something that, for lack of a better term, we just, it has a different in-game name, but we called it the Art Shrine. Because it's modeled on something that we always came across out on the islands of Casco Bay that we go to. It would be one of the places that we'd always visit when we'd go to this one island. It was this little place out in the woods, and it was like this little place that was in this tiny little copse of trees, and apparently this person, for I do not know how many years, every day, every week, I don't know how often it was, they would come by and add something to it. And it may have been a piece of sea glass, and it may have been something else, and it may have been something that was built by the community over the course of many years, and such. And it was just really cool because essentially it was this little just shrine that you found out in the middle of the woods on this trail, and it was just so much little creativity made. And I mean, during the winter, I guarantee it was covered by 3 feet of snow, and it would be completely just, but every year it would just be added to just a little bit. And sometimes I wouldn't go out to this island for a couple of weeks and or visit this particular spot for a couple of weeks. And it was just really cool coming by and seeing what had been added. And we wanted to add a place like that on Peace Island. So that is this, and that actually plays a part in the story of the game, geez, what was I saying? One of the narratives of the game, and one of the stories of, let's see, it ties into a whole bunch of characters. Again, there's just so much crazy stuff. Anyway, and that's what I'm creating here. I'm basically just creating something out of a bunch of rocks and something. And this is sort of what it looked like, but it was, and I'm going to be adding stuff up in the trees and all that showed. Like they had this little thing that was like a little insert a coin and turn the dial sort of thing. It was like almost a little Burning Man sort of exhibit right in the middle of the woods. And it was also, because it was deep in the middle of the woods, it was just a really great place to chill for a moment and just sit and sip your beverage and enjoy the day. It just the sounds of the forest and such. And the sad part about this place is that I don't know, because it had been built up for years by the time I noticed it. And I had been going there for over a decade before this happened. But essentially, at a certain point, the thing about this art exhibit is that it was fine to contribute, this little art project out in the woods. Anybody could contribute, but you really couldn't take it over or anything. And one day, we came there to this thing, and somebody had started setting up these little fairy houses in the woods around this thing, this little like art project this guy had built up, or these women or these people had built up over so many years. And as a result, the whole place was crowded with a bunch of just like assemblages of twigs and sticks, and the whole area was no longer this little secluded place that contained this little private piece of intimate art that had been created by all the people who had seen it and loved it over the years. And I had thought to myself, this is not good. I don't think any good is going to come of this, Laura. And we just moved on. And sure enough, I came there a week and a half later. And the entire thing had been destroyed. Peace. And the thing is, Laura maintains that it may have been somebody on the island who just was a wandering drunk or somebody. But here's the thing is, I mean, anybody who's been out on the islands of Casco Bay is intimately familiar with the damage that's typically left by a wandering drunk. In this case, this little assemblage of objects and items and creations had been systematically, piece by piece, destroyed, and you found pieces of it scattered as far as 20 feet away. Somebody had come along, and I think it was again the creator or creators of this piece, and they said this place was no longer what it was. And since it isn't, this space has been defiled, and if it can't be what it was, I'm gonna destroy it. And the thing is I completely understood. If that was the case, I completely understand, because it was just this wonderful little spot out in the forest that was, again, this thing that was all made out of just natural stuff that was slowly assembled over years and stuff. And all of a sudden, it was just a litter of twigs and rocks that had been tossed haphazardly on top of each other. And it was no longer what it was. And that was a really sad day, because that was one of the things I always loved visiting when I came out to the island. And it almost makes me verklempt. And the thing is, I can't really replicate what it looked like. I have photographs, but it was this wonderful random assemblage. I took a photograph of it, and because here in Maine, our pine cones are about this big, I put it up on Facebook, and a friend of mine who lives out in California where pine cones are this big thought it was a art project that was literally about 20 feet tall. And the thing is it would have worked as an art project that was 20 feet tall. It was just a really neat thing. And I don't think I could I'd have to work for months and months to be able to replicate that what that person or those people created. And so I'm just doing right now a really quick a variation of that, of where you have the shells and the rocks, and unfortunately you really can't replicate sea glass inside of Unity. Inside of Unreal you probably can. And because of my sore throat and because I've been sick for the last few days, I have to go and refresh my beverage, so I will return just right back. What I should do is, no, I can't. Just be right back, guys. BRB. Give me a couple seconds. Sorry. And let me just do my audio. So. Let me tell you. One moment. Soren, I just want to say, really quick, if you don't want to share your art publicly, please, let me just make sure my audio is turned up. Yeah. If you could PM me and send me a link to your stuff, I'd love to check it out. I mean, I aspired to be an illustrator back in the day, and I don't know. I was just, I sometimes I just say to myself, I was never all that good at it. I was never that good. But sometimes I look back at my old sketchbooks and I'm like, wow, I used to do things like that. Wow. Because I don't know, sometime around 2001, even though for the previous like 15 years of my life, I had spent wanting to do nothing more than be an illustrator. I just lost all interest in it. And, but that's when I subsequently started to work in politics. And boy, therein lies a story. Let me tell you, during my time in comic fandom, and my time as an aspiring illustrator and comic book artist, I went to many comic book conventions, and many conventions of many sorts. I went to a Warhammer 40K convention, went to gaming conventions, went to San Diego Comic-Con, essentially anywhere that I could sell an illustration to anybody for $5 or $100, I'd go there. And on a couple occasions, I went to furry cons. And I thought, during my time there, I was like, man, I'm never going to see anything as wacky as this again. As crazy and off the whatever as this is. American politics is 10 times as perverse because, oh my God, they actually have control over people's lives. And also, can I just say, my attitude to furries really mellowed in the wake of what happened in November 2016 in this country. Because all of a sudden I had to go, really? Well, no, I didn't have to go. I chose to just really look at things objectively and go, well, listen, yes, these guys have interests and, to be honest, some sexual kinks that I find rather odd. But you know what? They are not parading through the streets or cities, chanting, "You will not replace us," with like tiki torches in their hands, with Hitler mustaches. So really, I should be a heck of a lot more, accommodating toward that, toward those, well, not accommodating, but understanding and less critical. Because again, as long as you ain't harming anybody, whatever floats your boat, man. I've become much more of a civil libertarian when it comes to things like that. And but the thing is, I still have some issues with what I saw in fandom, and if you go online, you will find video on YouTube. I will not tell you what it is, but they have a video. There's a video on YouTube. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but again, I'm still somewhat ill and I'm getting over this. Probably still running fever, but anyway. In this video, this guy, I guess you call it Usenet nowadays, but this guy found a forum post that I wrote over 30 years ago. Over, I think about 25 years ago I wrote this. And he reads it. It basically has a few of my opinions about what fandom was back then. What the fandom was back then. And here is and he's reading it in this like weird Dwight Schrute voice. As if I were like Mussolini on the balcony preaching to the masses. And here's the thing about that. Well, everybody rushes off to find that video. You can look at that. Some of the posts. I will go. Hi Natalie. Oh, true story. Which was a true story, Natalie? I forget. I've been ill, like my brain on. Oh, are you talking about Furry Fandom? But anyway, here's the thing. At a certain time, and and again, I'm old. I'm 52 years old, guys. And I understand that a heck of a lot of people that are involved in the fandom these days, and when I say the fandom, I'm talking about comic book fandom in general, and I'm talking perhaps about what is now known as furry fandom in general. Many of the people who might criticize me for what I said in posts like that guy read might not understand what the fandom was back at that point. And this is something I want to make absolutely clear, is that, I mean, at a certain point when I was objecting to some of the things that I saw happening at conventions and such, people lambasted me saying, oh, Eric has problems with gay people coming to furry cons and such. No, here's my problem with that. And I always thought that I was being a little bit extreme on this point of view until recently, Me Mudahar, a guy who runs a channel called Some Ordinary Gamers. And while I have a few differences of opinion with him on a few topics, I found him generally to be correct on stuff. And he did a video recently about somebody who was talking about zoophilia. And this guy was straight up, he was trying to, again, I'm not monetized, so I can say words like, this guy was trying to normalize pedophilia and zoophilia on YouTube. And Me Mudahar raised a fuss about it. And he said, listen, I don't care if this guy has only 30 followers and his videos are only seen it 100 times. Somebody who's trying to validate pedophilia and zoophilia is harmful. And they, number one, need to have no right to broadcast on YouTube. And really, you should be on the line to the FBI and sending every bit of information you can on that individual. Now, maybe I need to change. I am going to change this because I should bring up a web browser so that I can make myself completely clear about the controversy that this small thing that happened back in the day. Let me just open up the browser window, make sure that I open up a new tab. And then I add it onto OBS. Thank you for your patience, guys. I'm going to add window capture. Add, create new. Okay. Chrome. Okay. All right. Now that we have a chance, now I want to, and now before I go into my entire rant here and what I was speaking about in that post that this individual speaks so grandiosely about on YouTube, let's look up zoophilia on Google. And what we're going to do, okay, let's look at this. First sentence, zoophilia is a paraphilia involving a sexual fixation on non-human animals. Can I ask you, what would you say if somebody told you that they had a sexual fixation on children? Because I'm not sorry to say at all, but that is what you are doing. If you have a sexual, that is the exact same. They are 100% identical and equivalent. There is no way to argue around that. In fact, the second sentence, bestiality. The terms are often used interchangeably, but some researchers make a distinction. Now, no one is ever going to be able to argue in any sane manner that zoophilia in its proper context used, is a healthy thing. It is sick. It is a violation, and anybody who engages in acting on those needs to be reported to the FBI and locked up, hopefully for the rest of their life, or chemically castrated, in my opinion. Now, when I wrote that opinion piece about fandom back in the day, no, not half, that's an exaggeration. The people that were in charge of running the furry cons, and half the people on the furry boards that I saw, and actually I was on the SCFA archive back in the day. There were people using, oh yeah, I'm a zoophile, I'm a zoo. That was like, to me, going into a comic book convention and hearing people around me going, I'm a pedophile, nice to meet you, I'm a pedophile too. What else was I supposed to say? I mean, just be silent and go, oh, I'm going to conventions full of people talking about something that is legally equivalent to pedophilia. And and again, I cannot apologize for any of my opinions or any of my statements back then. I stand by them to this day. Those people, I hope everybody who was at those conventions, proudly going around and going, yes, this is my ferret. You wouldn't believe what me and her get up to. And yes, I saw that happen. I hope all of those people are in jail because they were torturing those animals for their sexual pleasure. And if you're fine with that, again, you need help. And if that was my, if you look back into my history with Furry Fandom, that was my big break with them back in the day, and the big thing that got me the most flack from that fandom was I was just going saying, listen, we can't have this. And I was not wrong, and if you disagree, I'm sorry, you need therapy. So let me just see here. Hi, what for poof? Natalie Williams, grooming, turning deep stuff, not tuning into deep stuff. Okay, it's Hispano. Listen, it's because while I'm working, I either have to listen to somebody talking because I have severe ADD, or I have to talk. And we were just talking about fandom and how I used to be an illustrator, and at a certain time, I just sort of quit illustration. And I don't even think about those days very often, but at a certain point, I did post on Usenet. Go back in the video, Hispano. You'll see why I was talking about it. And I just wanted to I hadn't had a chance to address this straight up on YouTube because, if you did see that video and you did see his dramatic rendition of my post, it would seem rather odd. But again, I just didn't like going to the conventions and hearing that, and quite frankly, considering there were children sometimes going to those conventions, the best they could say is, "Oh, I'm not into little kids. I just sexually abuse animals." Oh, that's where we are now. That's where we are now. Oh, and again, if you were fine with that in Furry Fandom back in what was that? Jeez, 1997. Because that's where it was. Well, again, it was one of the few things that I saw that compared to U.S. politics in terms of just straight up depravity. When I heard that Larry Craig guy, there was Senator Larry Craig. He was this Republican senator who had this very big, very prominent anti-gay agenda. Some of these shells aren't positioned properly. But one day he was caught in, I think it was Minnesota? No, there was at a Wisconsin airport soliciting sex in a men's bathroom. And, well, hey, it didn't surprise me at all. And that's why I left politics. Well, I actually left politics because at a certain point I realized Well, at a certain point, I just got sick of being angry. If you work in politics and you're an opinion style journalist like Keith Olbermann, or if you work for one side, you got to either be a happy warrior and have something in your brain that makes you enjoy being stressed out and angry all the time, or you're going to go nuts and you're going to develop a big cocaine and heroin habit or something like that. Because it is just because of the 24-hour news cycle, you had to constantly going, and you were always looking for something to get cheesed off about, something angry about. And I think, by the way, that is what killed Andrew Breitbart. Steve Bannon now runs Breitbart.com, but it was originally founded by a guy by the name of Andrew Breitbart. And that guy, I saw his last live speech at CPAC. I forget which year, but about a month later, he died of a heart attack. And when he left his house on a walk, and I think he was probably out there, doing a quick bump of cocaine, and that's what did him in. But when I saw him at that speech, you know how bad? No. When I saw Andrew Breitbart, let's go real. When I saw Andrew Breitbart's last speech, he looked worse than Steve Bannon ever does. And Steve Bannon is infamous in American politics for looking awful. But at that time, Andrew Breitbart looked worse. He was just drenched with sweat. His hair was hanging loose, his clothes. You could tell that you could smell him. Either the liquor that he had in him or the sweat that was pouring off his body. You could just smell it through the C-SPAN feed. And the thing is, when he died, I was like, yeah, I know why. Because during my time in politics, let's move on from the whole furry thing. During my time in politics, I learned that is that, let me tell you, I Rick Wilson and Steve Schmidt and those guys who made that their living, they got to have something really going in the brain, because they're like happy warriors, love going out here. Oh, and every day they just get up, just like, okay, how do I go and screw with somebody and get under their skin and so on. And that's what it is in politics right now. And that's another thing that I really hated about politics, the way it's come here in the United States. I'm sorry. And I seem to be just moving around this. I need to add more items. Sorry. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hang that little, there is going to be a little thing where you have to insert a coin and turn the key. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to save this and make a new scene and just copy it over from there. But American politics, when I got into it during, these were the days of the Bush the second administration. And I think I covered that earlier in the stream. I mean, I consider Bush the second to be a war criminal for what he did in my name in Iraq. But anyway, at that time, American politics was not becoming about how to make the world a better place. I'm just going to make a rough version of this out of cubes because that's the quickest way. It wasn't making things better. It was about pissing the other side off and making and raising money. And I mean, on either side, people weren't willing to be honest. They had obfuscation. You could tell what they were just. Jeez. There's a phrase in Orwell's 1984 when he talks about, the Newspeak dictionary of duck speak about something. It's this kind of a speech that was so empty of real meaning that it could be used, you could say in the Newspeak language, that guy is just speaking duck speak. And because, in Newspeak, everything had double meanings depending upon the context in which it was spoken. It could either be a compliment or an insult. And when I visited, the last time I ever really thought there was any hope in Washington was when I was invited to the IPDI summit in Washington, D.C. to be a speaker. And yes, believe it or not, this guy here was invited to speak at George Washington University about politics, not once, but twice. Twice. Crazy where life leads you sometimes. And on one of those occasions where I met Steve Schmidt. And what was crazy about meeting Steve Schmidt, by the way, was when I met him, we were talking about the Bush in 30 Seconds commercial advertisement. And if you don't know, if you don't remember, that was a commercial by MoveOn.org where for the first time they said, you know, viral video. I mean, everybody can make their own video these days. Everybody submit your own, you know, anti-George Bush, the Bush II ad, and the best one wins. And I was a finalist in that competition. And the first time I was called to Washington, D.C., I was there to speak about that. And my major problem with the contest was, in the end, the guy who won was a guy who actually was a Republican, and he was a professional ad maker. But the thing is when I raised that objection to Steve Schmidt, and again, at that time, he was a Republican. He was pro-war and anti-everything I was for. He said, well, you know, people change their views sometimes. And I was like, really? And I guess, well, yes, he showed me. Because, again, now we found ourselves, I mean, after me and him, I mean, I never liked the guy. But now, I mean, I'd be like, great work, man. Great work. You're doing fantastic stuff. And also, he's one of the few people, I mean, other than myself and a few others who are like taking Trump's next run for the White House very seriously. Because again, the Republican Party is done with Donald Trump until the day they are not. And that can happen the day that he wins the first primary. And that is just terrifying. Again, we had a guy who literally tried to lead a fascist overthrow of our government with a mob. And he's running for president again. And the second largest political party in this country is like, oh, we're totally against this. But again, the moment he wins the New Hampshire primary and the Iowa caucuses, all those same Republicans are going to be right behind him again. And they are going to go, oh, what insurrection? It's unbelievable where we are in this country. And again, that's why I left politics. It's just awful. And the thing is when you look at when you talk to those Republican operatives and those Democratic operatives, you know, I talk to both sides, and they start doing that duck speak. You can tell they know better. But the thing is they have been taught. These are students at George Washington University. These kids were at America's upcoming political class. This is where we were going. Damn. If you ever have a chance, and if you've never not seen it, there was a show that was on Showtime called Veep. And it had Gina Louise Dreyfus, I think her name is, the woman from Seinfeld. But it's where she plays the first woman president of the United States. That is what they portrayed American politics perfectly in that show. How, I mean, people are they are all scumbags. It's just the same crap, the same scumbags you'd find at any other job. And I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have been surprised at that. But I walked into, you know, that politics being very optimistic back in the day. But meh, what you gonna do? That's why, again, another reason why I just had to leave. Just realized I did this far more complex than it should be because, I'm ill and not thinking properly. What you gonna do? Let's see. Oh, cylinder, yes. Who's a spam bot? Oh, girls. Fine. I'm gonna have to remove. How can I have the user on this channel? Great. I hate him. Sorry. But who knows? Maybe he had a good point. Maybe he does know how to find love from girls or whatever the heck. Real life girls. Man, let me tell you, I don't know whether I had COVID or not, but I have never been sicker than I was a couple of days ago. I was just, just crawling on the bathroom floor. You know, all these things I play so meticulously, but you know what? Before I do, I'm going to duplicate them. Actually, not that. Move those over. And also, when people like Steve Bannon came out and he said, I'm a Leninist. I mean, again, jeez. Well, I think I hid them. That show is brilliant. Everybody on that show is brilliant. And they had this one character on there, Jonah Ryan. Oh my God, he is everything. And the thing is, I met Jonah Ryan when I was in at George Washington University, and then I saw him again on feed. I was like, oh my God, no, he exists. Yeah, I was supposed to make this into a coin slot, not a round slot. Sorry. But, oh yeah, I told you I was going to tell you my own crazy story about work. Well, no, I'd rather not. For my own reasons. Just bear with me. I just rather not. It was a fluke. Okay, it seems like every year I get this idea that I could actually, I can, go and, work on another project or a part-time job for about 4 or 6 hours a day. And within a week, I discover, oh my God, everything is collapsing. And that sort of happened. And during the short time that I was on this job, apparently I caught some really horrible disease. Because it's just, again, I have never been as sick as I was that day. Usually, even when I'm sick, I have to get up and maybe eat. But this time, no. Drinking and eating was for tools. Oh, sorry, I need to take these. 1. Another thing about our politics is we are, geez. It's frightening how few people of my generation we actually have in office in this country. We are a country ruled by people my parents' age. One of the few people in Congress that's my age is Ted Cruz. And he's younger than me. And he's like one of the most miserable people in the Senate that even Republicans hate him. Even his own fellow Republicans hate him. But anyway. So that's her name. Anja. Oh, hi. Aina? Is that Turkish? Muladara? Aina Muladara. That sounds either Turkish. You'll have to tell me because I don't want to show off. I think I blocked that person. Let me know if they show up again. But yeah, watch Veep. Because number one, it's very funny. But if you ever want to know exactly what a U.S. politics is like, I can tell you, is somebody who was there. And again, I also worked for 2 presidential campaigns. I worked for Dennis Kucinich both times he ran for president. And you go, oh yeah, Dennis Kucinich, because back then he was sort of a fringe leftist candidate. But let me tell you, he was the closest to old school Democrat that I can remember in those elections. And at a certain point, I was getting death threats, and because of the work that I was doing for him, and he got the FBI on it within 24 hours. That was really cool of him. That's the really cool thing. All those conservatives, they're I'm sorry, if you're a conservative, let me tell you, I should say all those conservatives, all of those Trumpists and such, because let me tell you, I have books on my shelf by conservative authors, neoconservative. I actually have a lot of respect for paleoconservatism and old-style conservatism, and actually some of the precepts of neoconservatism are becoming somewhat less crazy in the context of what we're living through now in this country. So, Don't get me wrong, please. I am not 100% anti-conservative and anti-Republican. I just think that the Republican Party has been hijacked by literally a fascist mob. And but again, I understand. I mean, they were driven there by a Republican Party who didn't care, and a Democratic Party who couldn't bring themselves to care for these people. I mean, the Democratic Party for decades were like, "Oh, we're on the side of the poor" and all that, and then we elect Jimmy Carter, and he does more, just as much to dismantle our social support network and our welfare state as Ronald Reagan did. Everybody goes, "Oh yeah, Ronald Reagan redefined how the government ran and its relation to the American people." Actually, that all started with Jimmy Carter, because there were meetings in the Democratic Party where basically, Ted Kennedy had to have private meetings and sit down with Jimmy Carter over, a glass of Southern Comfort and go, "Listen, I don't know how it is down in Georgia, but the Democratic Party, generally is considered to be on the side of the working class, et cetera, et cetera." And I don't know. I still like Jimmy. I still like him, but I don't know. Because, jeez. I mean, God. I'm just talking about old history and politics. But anyway, I could talk about other jobs that I had. I mean, it's strange that I worked in politics and also went to like furry cons to make money. But hey, that's life. Life takes you to crazy places, guys. And it's always crazy. It's always struck me as, yeah, I didn't assemble this right. I'm just going to drag everything right back in the right position. Again, this is a placeholder. In fact, maybe, we're entering the winter here. And at about 28 days time, we're going to be at the point where the sun sets, and okay. Let's see. What was I saying? Yeah, all the jobs that I've had. Let me see. My video game experience. I worked for Atari. That was the first legit straight up video game company I worked for. I worked for them in the late 80s when they were owned by the Tramiel brothers. And strangely enough, it may seem crazy to you guys today, and this is where Grandpa Eric could tell you stories from the old days, is believe it or not, there was a time in this country where the home PC market was full open. And, actually the OS market was full open. And, Linux and Unix users will argue, well, it's still open. But really, Windows and Mac have a stranglehold on 99% of computers these days. Back when I worked at Atari, there were still Amiga computers. And there were other, computer companies coming out with their own OSs and own computers, desktops and such. And at that time, Apple, I worked at their Atari Lynx division. And let's see. I worked at their Atari Lynx division, and at that time, that was the only division making the Tramiel brothers any money. But the problem is they were putting all of Atari's money into developing a new Atari OS and desktop computer system. In fact, I was responsible for checking, creating their palette on the computer. You know how? Because I was the only guy in the art department that time, and I just wandered in and he said, "Hey, I need to take a look at something." And so, if you're one of the maybe hundreds of people who bought the last Atari desktop computer, you'll under. I'm partially responsible for how bad it looks. That's life. I knew a guy back in New Jersey. Well, I worked back in New Jersey, but no. I knew a guy back in New Jersey I did video work for, but I did a lot of video editing back in the day, but what he did was, no, he had two kinds of clients. He had clients in the local business, environment who did, stuff like rug cleaning and such. I did that work. And on the other hand, he had his adult video business, and I think you know where that went. I wasn't involved in any of that. But again, it's crazy the places you find yourself in, in your jobs. But let me make that's the coins. And I'm just gonna, number one, make sure I copy that, because I want to bring that over to that main scene. So now that I've talked about everywhere I've worked, let me see. I also was a line cook for about 3 years. I want to go to my works. I worked as a line cook, for about 3 years. That was a really tough job. I also worked for 2 days at a disposable diaper company, not a disposable diaper company, one of those diaper cleaning services. And that was when I was living in Seattle. And that was the best job the temp agency could give me. And because heck, I was a game developer in Seattle, and then what was it? 1991 thereabouts. There was Microsoft there, of course, but there were no game companies. There was very little tech sector outside of Microsoft back then. So I wound up working there. That was awful. And I was the only one there who spoke English, so they didn't understand when I said, I need gloves, because the bag's really leaky. So let's paste that sucker back in and see how big this guy is in comparison to the whole world. This will be funny. Oh, hi. Oh, yeah, Wolfer Poop. Yeah, I did. That was back when, no, they still do video games that are sprite-based. But yeah, the Batman Returns game. And let me tell you, the Tramiel brothers had funded, I keep on saying this, yeah, the Atari Lynx had a crappy battery, but I think compared to the Nintendo Game Boy, it was a superior system in terms of performance, and it had stereo sound, it had a color palette rather than just being gray, and some of the games that they had that they were working on before the Tramiel brothers took over, were very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I'm just, I think it was undercut by the company. What could have been, There seems to be a missing object in this thing that's way out. No. Alrighty. Well. Yeah, well, for some reason, when I zoom into that sucker, it'll just be way out. Anyway. Could be you are correct. Nope. There we go. That's where. Oh, it still has a camera and the directional light in there. That's why. That's stupid. Okay. But after I position this, by the way, I think I'm going to call it quits, because I just really wanted to go online here. Because I don't know, over the last, again, just more crap about those scammer people that I've had to deal with. And part of it was just somebody coming on going, oh yeah, this is vaporware, right, lol. And I just, dude, come on. There are thousands of screenshots that I've shared, literally hours of game dev. We've released tons of alphas. We're going to be releasing another one soon that'll blow everybody's socks right off. No joke. This time, it's amazing what we got. This new coder working for us. He's believe it or not, not from Maine. He's out of Tijuana, Mexico. But let me tell you, that guy, he's a crackerjack coder. he's one of these guys. He's the guy that I should have had many years ago, where it's like, I mean, where we work on the creative side of things, he works on the coding. That's the way it was always supposed to be. And he is rarely, if ever, disappointed. I mean, he earns his paycheck, and all I can say is bless his soul. He's one of the few people that I believe is like eligible, is going to be eligible for like a percentage of whatever profits we make from the game. Because seriously, I don't think we could have done it without him. He came in like an avenging hero after those scammers came in and really assisted us. But what I want to do now is just run through the whole game sequence from the beginning till the end, and I'm going to live stream it just so that there's proof of the game's development, and even more proof. I mean, why do I even have to jump through like trolls hoops? I don't know. I'm a sensitive place, and it never hurts to have more media. I think I didn't say anything really bad during this thing. I think at the beginning I was a little bit confused because I was feverish. I was talking about this neo-Nazi guy by the name of Nick Fuentes. That guy, honest to God, and the guy makes $1,000 every day just being this 4chan neo-Nazi. I just don't understand how. I mean, that's another. I mean, politics in this country, and his fans are like, "Oh, he's going to be president of the United States one day." Oh God, whatever's left of it, and it sucks. I mean, it's kind of odd because for my entire life, the left in this country, and again, I have no beef with conservatism and old school republicanism at all. But for the longest time, the left, we're the people of like, screw the man, yeah, screw the cops, screw the establishment and everything. But we just sort of played at it. We had like we had our big rock concerts, and we had our, people's congresses and our discussions and such, and it never led to anything. But man, the Republicans, boy, they came closer on January 6th to overthrowing this government than anybody. They came closer. I mean, and again, I know there was Russian involvement by Trump. That's another story I could tell you. A job that I had, I did the convention graphics, and while I'm talking about this, I'm going to bring up that main scene, and we're just going to walk through it, so that we have a record of, from beginning to end, the game as it exists. Yeah, save that. Yeah, I did the convention graphics because, at a certain point in my career, I was laid off by the motion graphics company that I just worked for. And I always was keeping my eye out for freelance jobs. And as soon as we get audio out of this, by the way, I'm going to go over the game. I'm going to turn it on so you can hear everything. Oh, no. And we're going to maximize it on play. Yeah, maximize. And we're going to unmute the audio. And this is a story that I'm just going to, unfortunately, I'm going to try and give you a really quick version because I want to just play this through. One day, I discovered that the Communist Party USA, of all people, was putting out a call for people to do convention graphics because they were having their, I think, 2014, their 96th anniversary convention. They have a convention every 4 years. And I actually wrote in and I said, sure, I'd be interested in doing a job like that. Because literally, it's one of those jobs that comes along once in a lifetime. I mean, only 96 other people in the history of this entire country has done the convention graphics for the Communist Party USA's convention. Why not? And during that time, while I was communicating with the people at the party, I asked them, what is the convention about? What's the theme? And because eventually I got the job, of course, because I'm a genius, I'm great at what I do. I said, what's the theme of this year's convention? Oh yeah, that's it. That's a standard error. And we seem to be getting very little audio. I'm going to turn off the YouTube. Yeah, Soviet wave over here, yeah. And turn up the audio overall, because I seem to be getting no audio. Ah, there it is. Let me check OBS and see how that's... Yeah. There we go. And actually, I'm going to turn it down because the first sound after when the intro scene kicks in is going to be really high. But I want to tell the rest of this story about... I'm sorry, my job with the Communist Party. I asked them what the theme of that year's convention was going to be, and that was 2014. They said, well, you see, we're trying to discuss whether we should break up the Communist Party USA and form committees of correspondence as we did in the lead up to World War II, because we are very afraid that the United States is sinking into fascism, is going to sink into fascism. And here's the reason that, and I mean, when I heard that, I was like, you're insane. Come on. Obama's in the White House. Gay marriage is legalized all over the country. Marijuana is becoming, legalized all over the country. We seem to be going really good now. And I mean, labor unions are finally growing again. And they said, but they were this is a very serious thing. So I didn't know how to capture that visually, so I gave them the best I could. But here's the thing. Understand that there's an organization called the Comintern, the Communist International. It still exists. Communist parties from around the world, even ones here in the United States that only have like about 1,000 members, they all get together and they talk about, what they've been able to accomplish, what they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And apparently, understand, the Communist Party of the Russian Federation is run by a guy by the name of Vladimir Zhirinovsky, I believe. I think that's his name. He was a guy who led the coup in the final days of the Soviet Union. And he is right in Putin's pocket. The Communist Party of the Russian Federation is basically in the pocket of Putin and votes with him basically all the time. And essentially, the Communist Party, the Russian Federation, took our guys from the Communist Party USISI and said, hey, we got this Trump thing stewing. You've always wanted to shake things up in your country. What say you, help us out with this thing we got going? And what happened was, to their credit, the Communist Party USA said, they took a step back and said, listen, our attitude is that we think the United States of America is a great place. We just want to make it a little bit better. That's it. We don't want to overthrow it. We don't want to, and so that is why I believe my credible evidence for why the Russians were behind the election of Donald Trump. The Communist Party USA was given a forewarning, and I don't know I don't think they did break up, because I still get spam and emails from them to this day. But anyway, that was another job I had. Again, crazy place that life leads you. But anyway, let's run this game. Thanks for listening. Easy start. Okay. Does it usually stay this long? Oh, goodness. Oh, yes, because of the lag and the big screen. Let's try that again. Sorry, guys. Let's try that all over. And this time, we'll have it without me talking over the menu for about 5 minutes. Sorry about that. Essentially, because I had it on full screen, it didn't play. There was about a 10-second lag in that intro scene. So let me just unstop that, unrun that. Stop. And we'll start it again from there. You hear a little bit of the ambient soundtrack from that coming in, or the musical soundtrack. And I mean, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to turn off maximize on play. So that way it won't go as crazy. And to ensure that I don't talk over it while it's going through everything, I am going to, step away, visit the restroom, turn my, and you could just watch it as it runs through. So let's go. Play. Oh, and one last thing. I'm pretty sure that somebody who's watching this will go, oh my goodness, Eric Plummick worked for the Communist Party USA. Well, yeah, I took a freelance job off of them. I actually still have a check from the Communist Party USA that I never cashed, simply because I thought it was absolutely hilarious to have a check from the Communist Party USA. And they'll go, they may say, well, would you do a graphics for the Nazi Party? No, they are not equivalent in no way whatsoever. So no, I would not do something. In fact, Nick Fuentes, that neo-Nazi, once got in contact with me personally, asking me to do graphics for one of his piddly little 4chan get-togethers. And I told him straight up, I'm sorry, I don't work with neo-Nazis, and fuck off. And he wrote back, well, I don't like working with faggots. And I said, is that the best you got? I would so much rather be gay than a Nazi. I'd be a gay, I'd rather be a gay. Come on. I'd rather sleep with 1,000 men before I put my arm up for Donald Trump. So, good try, Nick Fuentes. Anyway, let's run this again. And I don't think that audio is as loud as it was. And like I said, I'm going to let this, after the initial graphic, there's going to be a loud blast. It may be loud on your speakers, but after that, it quiets down again. There's a little bit of an audio, but it's not too loud. I think it's been tweaked a bit now, but just a warning. So I'm going to step away and let this run.
Pardon me, sir. Excuse me. Thank you.
Can I have your attention, please?
Excuse me.
The evening ferry
Sorry.
to Peace Island is now loading passengers at Gate 5.
Excuse me. Just gotta get my...
Passengers, please have your tickets and cargo manifests at the ready. Can I have your attention, please? The evening ferry to Peace Island is now loading passengers.
Got your ticket? Thanks. Make sure to secure your bag.
Good girl, Lizzie. It's just gonna be a short ride over on the ferry. It's okay. Shh. Have a nap, Lizzie. We're almost there.
I just wanted to, I always have to point this out. That sound effect at the very end is actually supposed to come up after this loader that is appearing, because that is the sound that occurred when all the humans disappeared. And actually, that was a custom sound effect that we worked with a guy out in Washington to create. Each little flip in there that you hear is one of the humans going, and we actually figured out the distance and how long it would be for each one by the speed of sound arriving at that point. We're obsessive about detail. Yeah, it does not run as fast, and it takes a lot of time. Look, much more time to load when it's inside the editor. So, yeah. Yeah, see, this is something I showed it off last time before. Number one, we've toned down all the shadows a bit because before it was just too bright. I know they were just too dark and people were losing their way. Eventually, I wanted so that cats, you could save your game by going into the litter box there. But I don't know, we're not there yet. The IK trail, we need to work on the IK on the tail, but because that's not essential for the beta, we're just letting that lay. Lots of documents that you can read as you walk around. Let's see. Oh, goodness. I'm going to have to fix that. That little stretch there. There's still some transitory animations, like when it was stretching there and it pivoted. That's another controller issue that needs to be fixed. But yeah, we have the targeted jump. And now, let's see here. It's kind of hard to get it just right, but we have it so that if the cat climbs onto, catches the edge of a surface, they will grab hold and haul themselves up. I could show that in another scene, maybe after I'm done with this real quick. And so also, yeah, when she sneaks, notice how everything gets light. That is to just make things easier to see. Also, we're going to have it so that, you know, certain things are going to be highlighted when you go into sneak. If you've ever played Detroit Become Human, that was, I really like that they handled that. Yes, I like Quantic Dream games. So, screw you, Jim Sterling. No, I love you, Jim Sterling. Oh, James Stephanie Sterling, love you to death. But yeah, just other stuff you can see. And there are going to be other books and documents and such. Yeah, there's another one up here. Let's see. Yeah, there she hauled herself up there. Yeah, other letters and such. You're going to be doing, well, not as much reading as your typical Myst game, but there is going to be a bit of reading. We still need to get that dismount a little bit better. And also, wow, some stuff is just showing up in the wrong place. You could, oh, that's another thing is that we added, you know, there before a lot of objects where you can't even touch them, but now you can. Now, here's the thing, is this is actually not a sequential thing that we're about to see here. Because I was working on something in the middle of the island, and I believe she will spawn either inside the camera. I can't really. Oh no, she spawned. She doesn't spawn where she would normally. She would spawn right outside of her house, which is over here. The map, as you can see, shows up. Oh, that is loud. The map show you, but she would normally materialize. No, she would pop out of the window right over there, and there are two other cats there that you can presently ask to join you. But you know what I'm going to do is just let's see. What we should do is, since I know I'm running in the right direction, and since somebody did have the temerity say "lol vaporware," I'm going to just run over downtown to that place. And we're going to find those two kitty cats. And we're going to ask them to follow us. There we go. We're just going to head over straight. Yeah, it's laggy because, again, it's inside the editor. And, I mean, you'll see over here, that chunk of the game world hasn't even loaded yet. And we're seeing the ocean underneath the island. This is back-end stuff that always occurs in open world games. I think as soon as this lag is done, yeah, now the terrain is loaded. When you have the standalone, it does have that problem. Yeah, I know exactly where we are, actually. Oh, the geese are nearby. I'm going to have to fix that. talk to Richard about that, because the geese theme was supposed to be based on Torgo's theme from Manos Hands of Fate. All the Mystery Science Theater 3K fans say yeah. Anybody who knows, MST3K knows Torgo and, Manos Hands of Fate. It was the deep hurting movie that hurt everybody. But there was a character on there who had this distinctive theme. And I wanted to use that exact theme because here's the thing. The guy who directed that film was infamously... He just didn't know what the heck he was doing and very lazy in what he did. We have another lag here. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you run with an editor. But the thing is, the guy who directed and, scored and did everything for Manos Hands of Fate, at the end of the movie, never put the copyright symbol next to his name or anything else. So literally the entire video game was, oh, what the heck? Oh, I think what Lance did, Lance has got that working. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. We're not going to be able to go over and grab those other two cats. But because essentially Lizzie here just got captured by the geese. The geese initially are to be avoided. And if they do catch up with you, unless you do other things, they will make your life problematic and take certain cats out of play. And that is a problem. But before I go, last thing, I said that was last thing, but this is the last thing. I could talk about, all the crazy jobs I did. What was it? Bill Hicks said, yeah, that interview I did for Heroin Monthly. Man, no, I never did that. By the way, thanks for everybody who tuned in and watched, and those who might tune in the future, because I don't think I said anything really crazy. I am feverish, and I tend to repeat myself a lot when I'm that way, but hey, here's hoping. Again, I am anti-Nazi. If you're willing to talk about the crimes of capitalism up against the crimes of communism, hit me up. I'm on Reddit. I'm on Twitter. Let's talk about it. We could talk about that. Yeah, I was going to show you guys. Number one, let's see here. Let's go in very quickly here and show you. See, the IK. This is one of the first things that Lance did, and this is just so beautiful. See, before the cat would always be horizontal, or it would fall. Just so smooth over no matter what surface you hit. And this is the latest way of making things smooth. Because when you're like really running along and you're on not on a timed quest, but you need to get somewhere on the island quick, you shouldn't have to think, oh, I'm coming up on something, I have to jump. No, the cat should automatically just hit it. You see, I'm not jumping. This is automatic. But now when the cat hits a certain area, they are going to just go, I'm going right over it. You don't need to tell them to jump. We are trying to make this as, natural and smooth as cat motion is. I'm sorry, somebody actually asked a question over there. Hold on, let me see him. So do these problems disappear completely after clicking? Yes, Soren, yes. Yes, I did not make a build before I went live because this was on just sort of a whim. I wanted to work, and I don't know, because of the action of the people who scammed us a couple of years ago. We recently found out that they blocked us on Facebook. Well, no, what they did is they took away our ability to advertise on Facebook. And that was a result of those same people screwing with us. And again, today, this is another thing we added. When you crouch, you can actually hunt and grab butterflies for a little bit of fun and stuff. You see, this is not vaporware. We have the only system that we do not have in the game right now is the conversation quest engine. And we actually, no, we have it in there. We don't have it fully integrated with the content yet. And we are going to, I mean, we are going to be taking care of that as soon as we get the interaction between the cats and the UI working. Basically, the interaction between the cats and the NPCs needs to work equally fluidly. And let's see what we see. We need to refine the UI because currently, let's see. Oh yeah, here, check this out. You could. That's another thing. Well, we've always had this. That was one of the first systems we got in. Oh, you could try switching to other cats, but apparently, oh no, this is a workbench scene. So, by the way, this is another piece of back end. I'll just show you. This is where the Lance, the guy who's our lead coder right now, and the guy who he initially came on to do our character controller. This is his workbench, and I showed off last time. The next big thing that we're going to be adding as far as what the cats can do. I just want to go scenes. Currently, the scene is not functional. There's some sort of coding issue. But once, essentially, you can ask cats to follow you. And if you get 4 cats together into a clouder, you can then get them all together and drive a golf cart. I'm going to try running it again, but for some reason, I mean, he's got it working so that he's got the one raycaster working, but we really need 4 raycasters working properly. Just like we do on the cat paws, each of the 4 cats' paws always hit the ground. We need the same for the wheels of the golf cart. And right now, it only recognizes 1 slant. We needed something that recognizes all 4 slants and works dynamically. But the thing is, again, Lance has never disappointed. And I guarantee you, he's going to have it. Because that's a major thing that we wanted in the public beta. Because it's going to be fun. Who wouldn't want to drive a golf cart with 4 cats? And the problems, by the way, in this scene aren't a matter of cooking and baking. It's a matter of, and by the way, it's a matter of coding. And by the way, if I did, it was like, oh, let's make a build right now, it would take an hour. Oh, it actually looks like it may work this time. Yes, look. Yes, we have a pretty good tight. Yeah, I think he's added the shift. But you see, when it goes over really bumpy territory, it's not, 100% responsive. It's only responsive on a single axis now. But I'm pretty sure by the time I get off of this chat, Lance will be like, dude, got it done. Here's my invoice. But he's a guy, he's a character. But again, man, when it comes to getting this game done, it's going to be, he's going to be up there in the pantheon of the top 5. That's where we needed to be. And Lance, if you ever watch this, and no, he's too busy. He's got 2 kids and a wife, etc. But let me tell you. But anyway, that's the next thing we're going to be sticking in is the cats driving the golf cart. And Lance is working on it so they all get around and jump into their places. And I'm wondering, should the cats have different skills at driving? Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, guys, to those people who are still watching and watched all the way through this, who may watch in the future again, thanks a lot for tuning in and watching. And any craziness that I said over the last, how long have I been going here? Probably 2 hours now. Laura's ready to move out and get her own apartment now. Oh, no, it'll say on the YouTube thing. Oh, 2 hours, man. Anybody who's been on your own the last 2 hours, hey. And I always say this to you guys, thank you. We love you because you're the guys who are always stuck with us and allowed us to turn this crazy bedroom project into something that's real. And it's we love you for that. And, thank you. And good night. Take care. Bye-bye.